Chat hello. I hope you're all ready, because we're going to be talking about a lot of Space Marine stuff today. Hello, Snark Crew. Hello, Iashi. What's going on, everyone? Hello, hello, hello. Oh, man. How long has it been since I've had an actual full week of streams planned out in advance? It's been a little bit. If it's actually been 1 week, I'll actually make that joke. Hold on. It's been... Okay. It's been a while. Between recovering from COVID booster side effects and just, in general, visiting family. Yeah. Haven't had a solid sort of... Haven't had a solid sort of stream schedule in a hot minute. In a hot minute, but we're here. We're back at it, and we're ready to rock and roll. Absolutely ready to rock and roll. Comey Byrne, hello, what's up? How you doing? Welcome to stream. How are you doing? I see you tossed me a follow yesterday, by the way. Thank you very much on that. Thank you. I do appreciate it. I have not had the most productive day today, unfortunately. I did not get a lot of sleep last night. I think I got like 4 hours of sleep. I woke up at like, I want to say 6 o'clock in the morning. Had to do my business. Could not fall asleep a lot after that. There's just a lot of tossing and turning and not getting very comfortable at all. But I managed to sneak in a nap earlier today, which is good because I no longer feel exhausted, but it's also bad because I wanted to do, oh my god, I wanted to do a lot more today, shall we say. I wanted to do a lot more today than I actually got done, and it kind of sucks that I didn't get a lot done today, but I'm going to try and push through that. Sponsored man, hello. Game or book? Yes. If anyone had missed the first 40K lore deep dive that I did, I basically did a speed run of just all the different playable factions, what they were like, and then I did another speed run of the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy. So today, what we're going to be doing is diving into a little bit more of the specifics, and I thought, what better way to start our next episode of the Warhammer 40K lore deep dive series than by tackling Warhammer 40K's poster boy army, the Space Marines, the Adeptus Astartes, aka the army I've been playing since 5th edition. So it will obviously be, it will 100% be the army I know the most about. Watch me be dead tired right now and full of energy at 3 a.m. Oh my god, Yashi, that is absolutely me. That is 100% me. Oh my god. I've had days like that. And it sucks. I've had days where like I've spent literally all afternoon, all morning trying to get myself motivated to work on something. Have zero motivation to do so. Just basically wasting the day doing nothing, maybe like, I don't know, watching anime or playing video games or whatever, and then come 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, that's when all of my motivation hits, and then I'm ready to start working on something. I'm like, well, what is sleep? Sleep is a lie. But yeah, I had a blah 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 blah. That has basically been my day today. I'm pushing through it though. I got a nap in, which I mentioned earlier. Which is great. I hope you all have been having a great day today. Rather, it has been getting a lot colder lately. It's been getting a lot colder lately. It has been getting a lot colder where I am. Which is cool, because that means now it's starting to actually feel like fall, but like at the same time, it's it's getting like obscenely cold. Like the low, oh my god, the low for tonight is gonna hit 28 degrees Fahrenheit, by the way. That's Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but 28 Fahrenheit's fucking cold. The worst part of the inspiration strikes in the middle of the night. Absolutely, Comey, 100%. It is gratifying. It is gratifying to know, because at that point I'm like, okay, cool, my brain still functions. So yeah, that's good, and that means I can get a lot of shit done. But at the same time, it's just like, well, I guess there goes my sleep. I don't know. What I should do, in case that ever happens to me again, what I should start doing is I should start leaving like a little notebook and like a pen next to me. So that if I don't... excuse me. So that if that happens to me again, I can just, you know, write it down and go back to bed so I don't forget about it. Although I did try that once. I tried that once when I was in high school. I tried keeping a dream journal in high school. And then I realized very quickly that me being half awake trying to write down something results in my handwriting being absolutely 100% illegible. Absolutely 100% illegible. Me being fully awake the next morning, trying to figure out what my half-asleep ass was writing down in the middle of the night. Duh. I gave up on that very quickly. I gave up on that very quickly, what can I say? But that has been my sort of life update, I guess? I don't know. But yeah, just to keep on that little train of thought while I have your attention. We actually do have a full week this week. More 40K deep dive today. Tomorrow we're jumping back into Dead Cells because I have the itch to play that game again. Saturday on YouTube, I'm finally getting around to starting Hyper Light Drifter, which is a game I've literally had in my Steam library for years and not touched. And Friday, y'all already know what time it is. Chat, you know what time it is. Friday is Pokemon Scarlet Violet launch day. Oh yeah. I'm not even gonna lie, chat, I might actually start stream early on Friday. I'm that excited to play the fucking game. I was thinking of writing things down, but I also need a notepad. Yeah, big same. I mean, I have a notepad, I have a pen, that's not the problem. The problem is me trying to write shit down when I'm half awake and it not being legible at all. In the slightest. Chef, Yasiyashi, what's up? Want to hit Terra raid battles once they become available? Oh my god, absolutely, yes. Hell yeah, I do, let's go. And before anyone asks, I picked Violet for my version this generation, and I am also doing what I always do when it comes to Pokemon starters. I've picked Weed Cat. Because I have always, from Red onwards, I have always picked the grass starter. So I am all in on Weed Cat. And honestly, Sprigatito just looks so fucking adorable. Absolutely adorable. Oh my god, I can't wait. I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait. Weed Cat 420, blaze it! Let's see, that's when I know it's Christy in control of the New York Stock Exchange account. Because she's the one who would definitely make that kind of joke. She is the one who would absolutely make that kind of joke. But yeah, I hope you all are having a good day today. Definitely better than mine. I was actually feeling kind of tired earlier, like a couple of hours before stream. But at the same time, I made myself a cup of coffee. Well, not a cup of coffee. I made myself some coffee, and I've got it in front of me right now, and I'm very good to go. I'm caffeinated, and I'm ready to rock and roll. You should know, Christy, because I'm the one who uses this channel to watch other streams. Well, okay, yeah, fair. You're right. I've been having huge Sonic the Hedgehog brain rot, so I'm just focused on streaming Sonic Frontiers. Oh, nice, Comey. So you made the opposite decision I was. Because I realized very quickly that Sonic and Pokemon were dropping around the same time, and I would only have enough time and money to focus on one of them. I chose Pokemon because I'm me. I chose Pokemon because I'm me. And I also chose Pokemon because I realized that the Korone-themed DLC pack for Sonic Frontiers was a Japanese-only pre-order exclusive, which means there would be no way in hell that I'd be able to get it, unfortunately. If that was available here, oh my god, I would have gotten that in a fucking heartbeat. Are you kidding me? 100%. 100%. Yeah, that's valid. Yeah, no, because I know myself. I know how hyper fixated I get on video games, especially if it is from a series I really, really like Pokemon or Legend of Zelda or Metroid. There was really only going to be enough time and or resources for me to focus on one of them. Don't get me wrong, I love Sonic. I do love me some Sonic. And everything I've heard of Sonic Frontiers from my friends said, it's a great game, you should play it. It's a great game, Chef, you should play it. Let me get through Violet first. Let me get through Violet first, 100%. Real talk, I still need to finish a Metroid game. Comey, what is the last Metroid game you finished? Like, start to finish, completed. Not 100%, but just got to the end of the game. Like, beat the final boss. For me, that was Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread fucking just... Oh, Dread was so good. The Shine Spark puzzles, pain in the ass. Boss fights, very difficult. But that's just what makes a Metroid game a Metroid game. None yet. Oh boy. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. How many Metroid games have I finished? Super Metroid, Prime 2. Did I finish Prime 3? No, I did not finish Prime 3. Fusion Zero Mission. Metroid Prime Hunters for the DS, because I think I'm the only person on the planet who remembers that game exists. And then Metroid Dread. Because Dread was fucking cool. Currently picking up Super Metroid. Oh, Super Metroid's a classic. Have fun with that one, Comey. Super Metroid is a classic. I love it. Alrighty then. I think the preamble is good to go. But now I need to set up something else. One moment, chat. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Super Metroid introduced a lot of things that have since become staples in the Metroid series as a whole, which is really cool, honestly. Which I dig. Which is really, really neat. Find it? Found it. Let's go. Okay. Alright, chat. So, before we move on to our continuing deep dive into the very large and very convoluted lore that is Warhammer 40K, specifically of the Space Marines, who also have lore that is very large and very convoluted. I want to refresh your memory, chat. I need to turn a couple of things on, and I need to turn another thing off. Oh shoot. Okay. I forgot to add a very important thing. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. So, chat. Cast your mind back to the last thing we watched. Or the last thing we watched, excuse me. The last thing we talked about in my previous episode. Want to call this an episode? I'll call this an episode. Episodic series. I will be uploading the first one onto the YouTube page. Probably right after this stream, honestly, because it's something I meant to do a little while ago and I entirely forgot about. But anyway, yeah. What I wanted to touch upon, or refresh your memory of, is the really, really badass, really incredibly well-animated short that Games Workshop put out for the 35th anniversary of Games Workshop, of the company, of the game system, Warhammer. And it's called The Armoring of a Space Marine. It just shows you, A, how big Space Marines are for genetically modified superhumans, and B, just how much armor they have. It's really quite detailed and incredibly intricate, and I think it's the perfect jumping off point to get us back into the grimdark mindset of Warhammer 40,000. So, yeah. There's a tech priest. Creepy ass tech priest. Chapter serfs. They're literally called serfs. Chapter servitor, and there is our Space Marine himself.
I accept these burdens as the Imperium bleeds. I accept these burdens, knowing no fear. I accept these burdens as an angel of the Emperor. I sheathe my form in the second skin.
There's the black carapace, yep.
This veil of machine muscle and false nerves.
I believe that is the Codex Astartes. I believe that is the Codex Astartes.
I stand firm against the alien.
And the armoring begins in earnest.
The heretic. I grant no mercy. I give no ground. Here's all the bits of the power armor for this Primaris Marine. God, the cherubs are so fucking creepy. So fucking creepy. Honestly, one of the creepiest things in 40K are those fucking cherubs. With humility, I bear the Imperialis. The symbol of loyalty unbroken.
That is the Codex Astartes, I knew it.
With reverence, I receive actuation. The
And that is how tall a Space Marine is compared to normal humans. Jesus Christ. I love that animation so much. It's so good. It's so fucking well done. And it's so detailed too. It's so detailed. Like I know I've made because I know I've made mention of this the last time we talked about this, but there is your sense of scale. Space Marines are not just armored humans. They're not just regular human beings clad in armor and given guns. No, they are genetically modified beings that, and again, I know I've made mention of this before, but I would even hesitate to call them human at this point, given the amount of genetic modification and sometimes technological bionic modification they go under as well. Your average human, let's say, stands anywhere between 5.5 to 6 feet tall, right? On average. Even without his armor, a Space Marine is pushing 7 feet. Fully clad, he is absolutely 7.5 feet tall at the least. At least. He's wearing what amounts to what is basically tank armor. It's called ceramite in lore, in the universe of Warhammer 40K. Ceramite is the material that he's wearing. And it can stop basically any small arms fire. And I emphasize small arms fire because with the weapon, the primary weapon that Space Marines utilize is this, the bolt rifle, or bolter for short. It takes 2 normal humans to carry it. And I have seen Space Marines who will wield a bolter or bolt rifle in one hand while having a melee weapon in the other one. That is absolutely something they can do. That is absolutely something they can do. Kingfisher, thank you for the 100 bits. Oh, we'll get to my favorite chapter, don't worry. We will get to my favorite chapter soon enough, don't worry. But this is your sense of scale. This is your sense of scale right here. This is how big a Space Marine is to next to normal, air quotes, normal humans. Because even the chapter serfs, these guys in the hoods, they've had, at the very least, their legs replaced with bionics, at least one eye replaced with bionics. There's a lot. There's a lot to cover in terms of just how Space Marines function, how they're armored, what makes a Space Marine. So, the history, very briefly, because I know we covered a lot of history last time, but very briefly, during the Great Crusade, Space Marines were divided into units called legions, and their Primarch was the one leading those legions of Space Marines. A Space Marine legion could number in the tens of thousands of genetically modified super soldiers. After the Horus Heresy, Robute Guilliman, one of the surviving loyalist Primarchs, wanted to ensure that such a heresy on that kind of scale would never, ever, 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 ever happen again, knock on wood. So what he proposed was breaking up the remaining Space Marine legions into chapters, and instead of having them be tens of thousands of soldiers strong, the maximum number of Space Marines that a single chapter could hold numbered in only about 1,000. I know what you're probably saying to yourself, like, okay, only 1,000 soldiers, that's really not a lot. Keep in mind how ridiculously genetically engineered Space Marines are. Like, one Space Marine is probably worth like 10 Imperial Guard, just in terms of sheer manpower. Obsidia, hello. Imagine liking Salamanders cringe. Crusades and Black Templar intensifies. Also, the first rule of the Codex Astartes is that it only applies if you want it to. Also true. Also true. We'll get to those chapters of Space Marines who just look at the Codex Astartes and just sort of laugh. Kind of like, you know, the Space Wolves. Because the Space Wolves are literally just space Vikings. It's kind of great. It's actually kind of great. Hope you're doing well, by the way, Obsidia. How you doing? How you doing? And just take a sip of my coffee. 1 second, y'all. So there are literally hundreds of, possibly thousands of Space Marines chapters strewn across the galaxy, strewn across, or stationed on, I was gonna say the Imperium of Mankind, but let's just say what's left of the Imperium of Mankind at this rate. But there are a core of Space Marine chapters who were drawn from the original remaining Space Marine legions. 1 second. Yeah, there we go. The Blood Angels, the Dark Angels, the Imperial Fists, the Raven Guard, the Space Wolves, the Iron Hands, the Salamanders, the White Scars, and the poster boys, the pretty boys, and probably the most boring Space Marine chapter, in my opinion, and probably the opinion of a lot of other Space Marines players, let's be real here. The Ultramarines. You know what? Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll start with the Ultra Smurfs. We'll start with the Ultra Smurfs because I literally already have their page up. So, while each Space Marine Legion had a Primarch, during the Horus Heresy, half of them already turned to Chaos, became Demon Princes, etc., etc. What happened to the Loyalist Primarchs, you're wondering, Chef? Short story, not a lot of things good. Not a lot of things good, let's be real here. Sanguinius perished in the Horus Heresy, trying to take the fight directly to Horus himself. Lionel Johnson? Depends on who you ask. Depends on who you ask. Official records will say he's missing. Dark Angels say no, he's just sleeping in the rock. You know, what's left of their homeworld. Depends on who you ask what's going on with Lionel Johnson. Imperial Fists, Rolgal Dorn, participated in defending the Imperial Palace at the height of the climactic battle on Terra during the Great Crusade, during the Horus Heresy. But supposedly fell in a later engagement. I say supposedly because the only thing they were able to recover of Rolgal Dorn were his hands and nothing else. Which is a little strange, I'm not gonna lie, which is a little strange. Corvus Corax, essentially self-exile. We'll get to what happened to the poor Raven Guard, but it led to Corax willingly exiling himself. Long story short, did something he wanted to do that in his mind was going to help the Raven Guard survive, it almost made them extinct. Very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Layman Russ? Well, he got an Imperial Guard tank named after him, which is cool. Layman Russ basically said to what remained of the Space Wolves, I'm gonna go and fight. You guys are gonna go and fight. And I will come back to you in what he eventually called the Wolf Time. It is essentially very much in the same vein as the Norse myth of Ragnarok, with Layman Russ kind of playing the role of Thor, I guess. They're space Vikings, can you tell? They're space Vikings, can you tell? Well, we'll get to this. This is one of my favorite chapters right here. We'll get to them. We will get to them, don't worry. Iron Hands, Ferrus Manus. Ferrus Manus was another one who unfortunately met his end during the Horus Heresy. He decided to go one-on-one with the man, with the other Primarch he was probably closest to in terms of friendship and in terms of camaraderie, Fulgrim, Primarch of the Emperor's Children. And unfortunately, by the time Ferrus Manus had, confronted Fulgrim, he was already deep in the throes of Slaaneish's hold. So what ensued was a bitter and bloody duel between the two brothers, which unfortunately led to Ferrus Manus dying and being decapitated by Fulgrim. It was bad. It was really bad. It was very, very unfortunate. Here's my boys. Here's my boys. The Salamanders. Vulcan is a special case. Because in the height of the Horus Heresy, at the very onset of the Horus Heresy, at the Istvan Drop Site Massacre, Vulcan, Ferrus Manus, and Corvus Corax all led their legions down planet side first, not knowing that they had already been betrayed and set up by their brothers, by the Primarchs who had joined with Horus, siding against the Emperor. Their legions were almost decimated, were almost destroyed, but they managed to fight and survive. Here's the funny thing. Ferrus Manus died at Istvan. Corax, wounded, would survive, but then exile himself. Vulcan technically died on Istvan. He actually died multiple times on Istvan, but would come back to life each and every single time. Because the Primarch Vulcan is what is known as a perpetual. He is immortal. Kill him, and he will stand right back up again. Vulcan's story, there's a lot to Vulcan's and the Salamander's story, but what happened to him after the Horus Heresy? He did what Layman Russ did. Vulcan departed, but he left weapons and gear and messages for those Salamanders and what's known as the Tome of Fire, and that he left them with a sort of a prophecy. If you can locate everything within the Tome of Fire, I will know you are ready, and I will return to you in that time, and I will lead you then in our darkest hour. So Vulcan really it's a big question mark as to what's going on with Vulcan right now. Nobody in the Imperium really knows if he's truly dead or alive or just MIA. The salamanders themselves believe 100% he is out there and he will come back once they solve all of the riddles in the Tome of Fire. That is what they are all about. The White Scars, Jakti Khan, probably the most badass thing to do, honestly. Jakti Khan got himself a hunting party after the Horus Heresy and just drove straight into the Dark Eldar webway and is supposedly still causing havoc to this day. Or he could be entirely captured. Who knows? Let's just say Khan went out like a fucking badass. Khan is an absolute madman, and he was just like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna take my circle of most trusted, most powerful warriors. We're gonna go deep into enemy territory, and we're gonna collect their fucking heads. I love the White Scars. They're great. They're great. Now, Chef, you're probably asking yourself, okay, during the Horus Heresy, what the hell were the Ultramarines up to? Good question. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The Ultramarines... How can I say this without letting my own bias get the better of me? The Ultramarines were so powerful because of their Primarch, Rabute Guilliman. Where most Primarchs, or most Space Marine Primarchs were controlling a planet and maybe some of the neighboring planets and moons for their Legion, soon to be chapter of Space Marines. Guilliman and the Ultramarines literally controlled like their own empire. Literally controlled their own empire, like a second Imperium, some people even called it. That star system was called Ultramar, obviously, because Guilliman's naming conventions are incredibly boring. Guilliman's naming conventions are incredibly boring. And if you're wondering to yourself, Chef, wait a minute. Wait a second. I'm getting a lot of, like, Greco-Roman sort of aesthetic from Guilliman and the Ultramarines. You'd be correct, because that's exactly what they're based on. You'd be 100% correct. This is Guilliman during the Horus Heresy. This is Guilliman now. Because, guess what? Guilliman is back. He is the only loyalist Primarch to be reborn into the current timeline of Warhammer 40,000. Little backstory here, okay? So Guilliman and the Ultramarines controlled basically their own empire in the southern area of the... of the Imperium before, during, and after the Horus Heresy and the Great Crusade. Guilliman and the Ultramarines, however, were also the one loyalist of all the loyalist Space Marine legions that I just mentioned here. They were the ones who probably suffered the least amount of casualties in terms of the Horus Heresy. Because they were delayed, number one, because they had to fight to get to where Terra was. It was a long and protracted campaign against the Alpha Legion and the Word Bearers that were trying to delay Guilliman and the Ultramarines. Because even Horus knew that, like, if Guilliman and the Ultramarines Legion were to join up with the Defenders on Terra, it would be a long and protracted siege, and that's not what Horus wanted. Why are you saying that, Chef? Well, all of these other Space Marine legions, at full strength, would field close to 10,000 Space Marines. the Ultramarines were numbering in close to 20, possibly 30,000 Space Marines. Now, why is that? Well, this has neither been confirmed nor denied by Games Workshop lore writers. But, remember, cast your mind back to before the Horus Heresy broke out. The Emperor created 20 Primarchs to lead 20 different legions worth of Space Marines, correct? By the time the Horus Heresy broke out, there were only 18 Primarchs. And coincidentally, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, it was around that time that the Ultramarines Legion just so happened to increase beyond 10,000 Space Marines in their Legion. And you wonder where the two Primarchs missing legions went, right? Right? In recent entries into the lore, the ever-expanding lore of the Horus Heresy, it was confirmed that the Emperor sent Layman Russ to go and deal with, quote-unquote, some great transgression that those two anonymous Primarchs had done, which which gave Layman Russ himself the nickname, the moniker of the Emperor's Executioner. Because he is the one who would go and do the dirty work that the Emperor either didn't want to get his hands dirty or didn't want his name attached to said dirty work. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But the interesting thing is, like, you would think, strategically, you would think that, 20,000 extra Space Marines just lying around, you could easily distribute that among all of these other Space Marine legions. But it was the Ultramarines that, quote-unquote, mysteriously just happened to increase their number by that much of an amount. It's weird. It's very strange. Air quotes coincidental. Air quotes. Lots of air quotes here. But going back to Gilliman himself. Bird Portrait, hello! Thank you so much for the 4 months and the 2-month streak. I really appreciate it, Bird. How you doing? Hope you had a great day today. Thank you. Yo, fuck the Emperor, right? So what happened to Gilliman after the Horus Heresy, after everything went down? So he was the one who introduced the idea of the Codex Astartes, a set of rules to restructure all of the legions into chapters and just basically redo Imperium military doctrine as far as the Space Marines were concerned into something much, much, much more uniform. AKA boring. Busy but good, hope you're well. I'm doing better now. I did not sleep well. I was very, very tired this afternoon, but I'm doing much, much better now, especially now that I got some coffee on me. So what happened to Gilliman afterwards is he was ambushed. Let's see here. Yes. He was ambushed by both Fulgrim and Alfarius. And during that battle, he was stabbed with a poison blade. It was a poison that was so potent that Ultramarine apothecaries had to put him into a stasis field to slow the progression of that poison, or else it would have killed him on the spot. And that's where he lay on Ultramar in stasis, like basically moments away from death. But fast forward a few millennia, a few like hundreds of millennia, now that I think about it, duh. During Abaddon's 13th Black Crusade, the one that split the Imperium in half because he finally managed to destroy Cadia, Guilliman was reborn and placed inside a special suit of armor that would keep him alive despite the poison so he could command his forces again. Not just the Ultramarines, but he eventually was named Lord Regent of the Imperium. So, like, essentially Emperor in all but name only? To the point where he, after visiting Terra, took up the Emperor's sword as a symbol of his office. So he's basically, Guilliman is now in charge of all of the military might of the Imperium, not just his Space Marine chapter. And he's just essentially going around and trying to put out fires left, right, and center in an ever-crumbling Imperium. And the Ultramarines were the first one to get the Primaris upgrade. You know, the new armor, the new organs. We'll get to what actually makes a Space Marine shortly. Because Guilliman has connections to the Tech Priests of Mars, specifically the current and acting Forge Master General Belisarius Cawl. So all of that is to say that the Ultra Smurfs get all the good shit first, unfortunately. So in lieu of Primarchs, what the Codex Astartes suggested was someone from amongst the Space Marines to be elected to a new office that would be called Chapter Master, to rule in the Primarch's stead. Sticking with the Space Marines, the Chapter Master of the sticking with the Ultramarines rather. The Chapter Master of the Ultramarines before Guilliman came back was a man by the name of Marinus Augustus Calgar. Chapter Master Calgar. This man is insane. This man is insane. He led the Ultramarines with pretty much great distinction throughout the ages until Guilliman came back. If you want a bit of a 40K meme from the fandom, a lot of people will call Robute Guilliman Robot Girly Man. Because it's just funnier that way. It's just funnier that way. But Calgar was the Chapter Master of the Ultramarines. He still keeps the rank of Chapter Master, but default command of the Ultramarines has now, gone back to Guilliman, obviously. Current Chapter Master of the White Scars is a man by the name of Jubal Khan. Current Chapter Master of the Salamanders is Chapter Master Tushan. Current Chapter Master of the Iron Hands, as elected by the Iron Council, is Cardan Stronos. And a literally far more machine than man, because he's replaced so much of his body with bionics, it's kind of ridiculous. Current Chapter Master of the Space Wolves is the badass that is known as Logan Grimnar. You see that axe, by the way, chat? You see that axe? He reforged that axe. What did he reforge that axe from, Chef? He reforged that axe from the demon he killed to take it. That's how much of a badass Logan Grimnar is. Current Chapter Master of the Raven Guard is the man, the myth, the legend, the Shadow Commander. That is literally his designation, the Shadow Commander, Kayvon Shrike. Current chapter master of the Imperial Fist is Gregor Desian. He has only recently been appointed to chapter master because the last chapter master of the Imperial Fists, Vorn Hagen, was killed in action when the Great Rift opened and demons started flooding Terra again. So he is literally probably the newest chapter master on this entire list. Current chapter master of the Dark Angels is Azrael, Grand Master Azrael, with a special helmet. And current chapter master of the Blood Angels, as he has been for over a millennia, the literal golden boy, Lord Commander Dante. Dante Devil May Cry. I mean, with all the feats that Dante has pulled off in his time as chapter master of the Blood Angels, he may as well be. He may as well be. There are, besides those founding chapters, there are a lot of other notable, very infamous chapters of Space Marines that have carved out such a following for themselves that they have their own entries here in the Lexicanum. First of all, being the Black Templars, a Space Marine chapter that began as an offshoot of the Imperial Fists, but have taken to a very different form of chapter organization. They don't follow the Codex Astartes at all. They don't even technically have a chapter planet. They are an entirely fleet-based Space Marines chapter. Their chapter master being High Marshal Helbrecht. And they number well over the allotted 1,000 Space Marines. Because in their own mind, the crusade to retake and secure the Imperium has never ended. Think of the Crusades in real life, but make them Space Marines instead of really snobby rich Europeans, and then you will literally have what the Black Templars are all about. The Flesh Terrors are an offshoot of the Blood Angels, so they fight with all the same ferocity of the Blood Angels. They also unfortunately suffer from the same curse of the Blood Angels, which I will get to when we cover the Blood Angels. But unfortunately, the Flesh Terrors have a very, very dubious distinction about them. Because the Flesh Terrors quite literally live up to their name, as they will be found on the battlefield consuming the remains of their enemy, blood, flesh, and all. To say that other members of the Imperial Armed Forces keep the Flesh Terrors at arm's length is an understatement. It's an understatement. Oh my god. Here we go. Probably one of my favorite specialist detachments of Space Marines, the Death Watch. The Death Watch are not from a single chapter of Space Marines. In fact, if you look at their armor, if you look very, very closely at their armor, they are drawn from multiple different chapters of Space Marines. Because it is the duty of the Death Watch to hunt down, subjugate, and eliminate all alien or Xenos threats to the Imperium. And to that end, they take the best alien hunters from the different chapters of Space Marines and put them all into one chapter. And that is the Death Watch. Their unifying symbol is their left arm and left pauldron are painted silver with a special pauldron. Their main armor is painted black with the right pauldron signifying what their origin chapter is from. It's a really neat concept. And like literally their job is just to hunt down aliens all day long. Another specialist chapter of Space Marines is chapter number 666, the Grey Knights. And their job is to hunt down the forces of chaos, specifically chaos demons. Their armor is literally like littered with anti-demonic wards and symbols and blessings, to the point that quite literally, if you're a demon in just close proximity to a Grey Knight, you're gonna start feeling physical pain. There's a lot of rumors surrounding Grey Knights. The fact that like they have pieces of the Emperor's psychic might in each of them. It's a little wild. It's a little crazy. And there's a very special story to the Blood Ravens here. Out of universe, the Blood Ravens were a Space Marines chapter that were created for the Dawn of War computer games. Dawn of War 2, and Dawn of War 3. But they became such fan favorites, and a lot of memes were surrounding them as well, that they were officially introduced into Warhammer 40K canon in, I want to say, either the 8th edition Codex or the 7th edition Space Marine Codex. One of the two. But the chapter knowledge, their chapter motto, their battle cry, "Knowledge is power, guard it well," is very telling about the shrouded and mysterious origins of the Blood Ravens, because of every currently active Space Marine chapter out there, the Blood Ravens themselves boast more librarians, which are the psychic Space Marines, than any other Space Marine chapter, besides the Grey Knights. That's weird thing number one. Weird thing number two is that any and all records of their founding and creation have been sealed away by members of the Imperial Inquisition, so nobody really knows who their founding chapter was. That's weird thing number two. Weird thing number three is that they have a penchant for hoarding relics, not just of enemies they defeat, but like supposedly Chaos relics, Xenos relics, relics from other Space Marine chapters. It's weird. They're very distrusted even by other Space Marine chapters to this point. So all of that is to be said, and this is a fact that has neither been confirmed nor denied once again. But in the games that they're a part of, the Blood Ravens, it is heavily implied that the Blood Ravens gene stock, their gene seed, was taken from the Thousand Sons, the chapter under the command of Magnus the Red, the chapter who followed Horus in the Horus Heresy, which would explain their penchant for psychers, which would explain their fanatical love of all things, of all knowledge of all kinds, which will also explain why their founding records have been sealed by the highest authority of the Imperial Inquisition. It's wild. I love the Blood Ravens. They're cool like that. They're really, really neat. I like them a lot. That's how genetics works. That's how Space Marine genetics works. Because Space Marine genetics is fucking off the wall. Space Marine genetics is off the fucking chain. Hold on a moment. The first thing that we definitely need to go over is specialist ranks, equipment, recruitment, and training. Here we go. The creation of a Space Marine. Here we are. So, chat, when I said that Space Marines are heavily genetically modified, I wasn't kidding. I was not kidding. Because, yep, found it. There are 18, count them, 18 different new organs within the body of a Space Marine. On top of the other stuff that they had to deal with. Cybernetic implants, psychic indoctrination, grueling physical training. When I say that Space Marines are modified to the point where I don't think they should be considered human at all anymore, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. Now, to address a rather large elephant in the room, because of the time when this was created, it's stated in pretty much every Space Marine codex thus far that only men can undergo the process of becoming a Space Marine. Which is a little fucked up, number one. Number two, what's even more fucked up? What's even more fucked up about that fact, chat? If the thing will load, thank you. Is that they start recruiting from the age of 10. They start recruiting, brainwashing, and training these recruits from the age of 10. That is an entire can of worms that is absolutely fucked up on many levels. many levels. Oh. Ooh, I knew there was going to be child soldiers. Yeah, quite literally. Oh my god. Oh, Jesus. Oh, good Lord Almighty. So what actually goes into the creation of a Space Marine chef? Well, there's a few steps. There's a lot of steps. Even before the psycho indoctrination, even before the physical training, even before the implantation of all these new fucking organs. It's why I'm a big mad at the Ava reboots, because the point is these are children. Yes, exactly, Bird Porton. I get that, 100%. And I'm in that same boat. I am in that same boat. The whole universe is fucked up? Oh, Yashi, absolutely. 100%. So, what actually goes into the recruitment and training of a brand new Space Marine? Well, most Space Marine chapter planets are located on or near two types of worlds within the Imperium. Two types of specifically inhabited worlds. Death worlds and feral worlds. Death worlds meaning that the world can be colonized, but at great risk to the colonists themselves, because some part of the environment is incredibly dangerous. For example, the home world of the... Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. The home world of my chapter of Space Marines, the Salamanders, is located on a world called Nocturne. and it is classified in Imperial cartography as a death world. See, it's a death world, and it's an Adeptus Astartes homeworld. Why is it a death world, Chef? Because of the time of trial. Because of the time of trial. Every 15 years, Nocturne and its moon Prometheus come so close to one another in their orbits that there is a time of great plate tectonic activity and volcanic activity on Prometheus, that there were literal oceans of lava that flood much of the continents on the planet. So much so that there are literally only 7. There are only 7 habitable cities on the planet that hold all of the planet's population, as well as the Space Marine chapter training facilities. And that is on top of the giant salamander drakes that call the planet home, and who also grant the name of the Salamander's Space Marine chapter. Ah, you see? You see? Literally, the largest, here it is, found it, the largest and most active volcano on the planet is Mount Deathfire. It is literally the largest and most active volcano on the planet. It is also the ritual site for all the salamanders' training rituals, their forges, their what is it called again? Their Promethean cult indoctrination site, the Fire Drakes training ground. Yeah, the salamanders really don't care how volcanically active Prometheus gets. They still live there. It's fine. We're good. But the reason why Space Marines training on a live volcano, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? So, the reason why Space Marines recruit from such worlds is because immediately the recruitment stock of the humans on that planet is going to be tough, because they literally have to fight for survival. Space Marine chapters take advantage of this. Like, okay, you've managed to survive as a normal human. You've been surviving through all these trials and tribulations. Come with us, we'll make you stronger. Or in the case of chapters like the Space Wolves or even the Dark Angels, they will take what they will take the normal humans, and like the very first step of their indoctrination process into their Space Marine chapter is like some sort of ritual that the humans on the planet follow, and they think that like this ritual is going to make them a great warrior, make them a great leader of the people on their planet, when in actuality it is the Space Marines looking for the next best recruits. Hi Ty, what's going on? Space Vikings, exactly. We'll get to the Space Wolves very soon, don't worry. Hope you're doing well, Ty. How are you? But that is how they first start scouting their recruits. And once they have an eye on a recruit or a group of recruits, then they start taking them under their wing. They start introducing physical training, hypnotherapy, hypno-indoctrination, depending on what Space Marine chapter it is. Because there are differences, believe me, there are differences. That recruit then becomes an aspirant, and once you become an aspirant, that is when the implantation of all these ridiculous new organs and genetic modifications can start taking place. Step 1, give the aspirant a secondary heart. It is the simplest implant, and it is the most key, one of the most key implants of a new Space Marine. because the extra blood flow, the extra oxygen flow will facilitate the remainder of these implants of a Space Marine. Got high, took a thorough shower by listening to pagan folk metal, and now I'm hanging out with my fave dragon. Oh, thank you, Ty. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Step 2, the osmodula. Now, what the fuck is that, Chef? Basically, it's an organ that increases bone and muscle growth throughout the Space Marine's body. This is the organ that makes them taller than normal human beings. This is also what fuses their rib cage into a solid mass of bulletproof bone. You heard that correctly, yes. This is why small arms fire has no effect even on an unarmored Space Marine. You took a 44 Magnum, one of the more powerful sidearms now, right? You shoot a Space Marine in the chest where their heart's supposed to be. You're not getting past the bone plating at all. It's just not gonna happen. It is absolutely just not going to happen. Don't say that to gym bros, they'll want that. Right? Right? Phase 3, the Biscopia. This is the one that increases muscle growth even further in a Space Marine's body. And it also serves as the hormonal basis for the rest of the upcoming Space Marine implants. Now, there were when Belisarius Cawl introduced the Ultima founding and the Primaris Space Marines, which are technically their own kind of like upgrade of Space Marine, their own new type of Space Marine, taller than the normal ones, a little bit stronger, different armor, different weaponry. There is a way to upgrade a normal Space Marine to a Primaris Space Marine, and that is right here with these 3 what are known as the Primaris implants. And they can be inserted early or late into a Space Marine's indoctrination process. They are the Sinew Coils, the Magnificat, and the Belisarian Furnace. The Sinew Coils is a truly cybernetic implant. It's not a biological implant. It's not a biological modification. It is a cybernetic modification. These are cables, reinforced cables that are threaded into Space Marine muscles to make them even stronger. How do you make a genetically modified human stronger? This is how. This is how. The Magnificat is a very mysterious implant that goes into the brain of a Space Marine, increases bodily functions, intensifies all other Space Marine implants that they will receive, and it's not even technically complete because Cawl only has half the plans, the other half unknown. He's still looking for it. And then the Belisarian Furnace, or the Revitalizer, is an organ that connects both hearts, the natural and the artificial heart of a Space Marine. And in times of extreme stress or trauma, it expels self-manufactured chemicals similar to combat stims that aid also in regeneration of a Space Marine. Basically, makes a Space Marine heal faster. Makes them overcome wounds quicker so they can stay in the fight and fight longer. This next one increases the amount of hemoglobin in the blood to also make them to take in the extra amount of oxygen from the secondary heart. The Lehrman's organ, here's where things get fucking weird, okay? Here's where things start getting weird. The Lehrman's organ basically helps the Space Marine heal almost instantaneously. As soon as a Space Marine receives a wound that breaches deep enough, the Lehrman's organ spits out Lehrman cells to immediately seal that wound from the inside out. It's like platelets on steroids is what this thing produces. I have no idea how to pronounce this, but yo, give me one of those. I want to see what it does for chronic inflammation. Right before it, my god. This is the thing I need. This is the thing that a lot of content creators need right here. This node controls the Space Marine's circadian rhythm. What it does, it literally allows the Space Marine to switch off parts of their brain to keep their mind fresh, but their body still combat ready. In turn, that means a Space Marine needs no more than 4 hours of sleep per day to function completely normally, and can potentially go for a full 2 weeks without sleep at all. It's absolutely ridiculous. Hell yeah, process-based Space Marines. Number 7, the Preomner, is literally a second stomach. It's a stomach that's implanted in the chest cavity above the normal Space Marine stomach, and what this does, while no digestion takes place in the Preomner, what happens is it basically acts as a decontamination chamber. So even if you try to poison a Space Marine by feeding them something that's got poison in it or lacing a drink with poison, the Preomner will detect that and immediately shunt that poison off and discard it. It is just absolutely ridiculous. So you can't even poison a Space Marine effectively. Unless you're Nurgle. Unless you're Nurgle. The Omophagia. Here's where Space Marine chapters like the Blood Angels, the Flesh Terrors, and the Blood Drinkers start to go a little nuts. The Omophagia is a Space Marine implant and genetic modification that allows a Space Marine to gain information and memories of something that they consume. So they are literally able to drink the blood or eat the flesh of someone they are fighting and immediately gain all the tactical information they know just because they drank their blood. Or like ate a part of them. It is absolutely bonkers. And it's mutations and malfunctions in this organ specifically that cause the Blood Drinkers, the Flesh Terrors, and especially the Blood Angels to go a little too... Let's just say they go full vampire. There's no other way to go around it. They go full vampire. They go full vampire. Phase 9 is the multi-lung. It's literally just a third lung, an artificial lung that lets them breathe underwater, that lets them breathe in low oxygen atmospheres, and that lets them breathe in a poisoned atmosphere. And also helps to filter poisons, again, out of their respiratory system. Number 10 is the oculobe, which means basically it lets them Space Marines see way better than normal humans. They can see in pitch blackness as if it was daylight. Even if you try to flashbang a Space Marine, the oculobe will adjust for that excess light and let them see through it, so they won't be stunned at all. Lyman's ear basically makes the Space Marines being immune to both dizziness and motion sickness. They will never ever be dizzy. They will never ever be motion sick. They will never ever be disoriented by auditory overload either, for that matter, because it filters out high-pitched noises. I need that eye thing for night driving with astigmatism. Oh my god, Bird Portland, same though. I desperately need that, are you kidding me? The Sus-on membrane, here's another thing I could actually use myself. Honestly. This implant, with follow-up chemical therapy, allows the Space Marine either consciously, which means they can activate this membrane themselves, or as an automatic reaction to extreme trauma. It allows the Space Marine to basically shut down biologically, enter a state of suspended animation in order to let their body heal from trauma. And then once the body is sufficiently healed, the Sus-on membrane will reactivate and wake the Space Marine up from that suspended animation. It's absolutely insane how well this organ works. Okay, good. All right, the lexicon, I'm actually put this here. The longest recorded period spent in suspended animation was undertaken by Brother Silas of the Dark Angels, who was revived successfully after 567 years of suspended animation. So even if you think you've knocked out a Space Marine, spoilers, you actually haven't. You absolutely have not. The melochromic organ is phase number 13, which controls the amount of melanin in a Space Marine's skin. Exposure to high amounts of sunlight or radiation will automatically cause the Marine's skin to darken in order to compensate. Now, with the salamanders specifically, this organ is automatically kind of broken, quote unquote, on their home planet of Nocturne, because there's so much background radiation and there's so much solar radiation present on Nocturne that salamander Space Marines have their skin forever look like this. Because essentially what happens is that the melochromic organ is working 24/7 because of their home planet. So as a result, their skin kind of looks like obsidian, essentially, and their eyes glowing red. Like literally, if you took the salamander's helmet off, that's exactly what they'd look like. It functions that way kind of for the Raven Guard as well, but in the opposite direction. For whatever reason, the melochromic organs of the Raven Guard cause them not to have overly darkened skin, but overly pale skin, like almost bone white. Unknown why that happens, but it happens only for the Raven Guard and their successor chapters. The olytic kidney, it helps basically filter the Space Marine's blood more effectively. The neuroglottis basically enhances the Space Marine's sense of taste to the point where they can taste if their food automatically has like poison, or they can tell the chemical breakdown of something they've eaten from taste alone. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. A lot of this is wild, I know. The mucornoid is a organ that creates a substance to cover a Space Marine's skin in cases of extreme heat, extreme cold, or in the occasion that a Space Marine is sucked out into the vacuum of space without their armor. They can still survive because the mucornoid will cover all exposed areas of their skin to protect them. The Betcher's gland If you're thinking to yourself, okay, maybe a Space Marine unarmed, despite their superior strength, is going to be somewhat easier to deal with, right? Wrong. Because the Betcher's gland lets them spit acid. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding, chat. The Betcher's gland works in a similar way to the poisonous gland of venomous reptiles by synthesizing and storing a deadly poison, which the Space Marines themselves are immune to. This allows a Space Marine to spit a blinding contact poison, which can also be corrosive and burn away strong metals given sufficient time. So you're squaring up, you're ready to throw hands with the Space Marine. Next thing you know, you can't see shit because he just spat in your face and now your eyes are burned out into puddles. Good luck with that, have fun, goodbye. I want that one too. Next time a man on the street tells me to smile, oh, go to town, bird poor, and hell yeah. Number 18, probably the single most important implant, genetic modification a Space Marine can receive. The progenoids, or the gene seed. One implanted in the Space Marine's neck and the other within the chest cavity. These are basically what stores all information and memories of all the Space Marines within the chapter. The only way new progenoids can be created is within the body of an active Space Marine, which is why they had to be implanted in new recruits. And once the progenoids are fully developed, the zygotes can be extracted and implanted into the next generation of the Space Marine. This is basically like the lifeblood, the literal lifeblood of a Space Marine and the Space Marine chapter. Finally, the final implant is quite graphically displayed here, is the black carapace, implanted just under the skin of a Space Marine. It's what allows the Space Marine to interface with their armor. You remember in the video, the armoring of a Space Marine, those little ports that were studded all over the Space Marine's body? That's how they control their power armor. That's how they can make their power armor move as if it was a second skin to them. That's why instead of having such bulky armor, bulky to the point where it's slowing them down and making them sluggish and easy targets. No, that's why you can have, hold on chat, 1 second. I'm looking for a very, very specific GIF. Ah, I found it. That's why you can have Space Marines doing something like this, literally sprinting faster than a normal, than like an Olympic runner, clad in armor that makes them weigh about half of what a tank would weigh. That's why they can still do this. It's because of the black carapace. Just imagine that, by the way, Chad. Just imagine that. An 8-foot-tall, genetically modified superhuman running at you clad in what is essentially tank armor with a weapon that will vaporize you from existence with a single pull of a trigger. And he's sprinting at you. He's not lumbering at you. He's not stomping at you because he's so slow. No. He is full tilt sprinting at you. That is terrifying. That is utterly terrifying. Hell no. And besides, training, weapons training, doctrine training, that is what goes into the creation of a Space Marine. And that is also why I say Space Marines, in my mind, can no longer be considered normal human beings. Because they are way beyond that point now. They are way beyond that point now. to explain next? What to explain next? Oh, you know what, chat? You know what? Let's get into some Space Marine specifics. And I'm gonna start with my chapter of Space Marines. The chapter of Space Marines I have been playing since Warhammer 40K 5th edition. The Salamanders. Official designation: 18th Legion Homeworld, Nocturne, Fortress Monastery, Prometheus. Space Marine Chapter Specialty: Close Combat Warfare and Flame Weaponry, because of course, why the fuck not? And by the way, just as a personal note, chat, I fucking love the Salamander's battle cry. Into the fires of battle, unto the anvil of war. God, that's so heavy, I love it. That's so heavy, I love it. Oh my god. Oh man. So, I mentioned them in passing, but the Salamanders, their homeworld is Nocturne, which is an incredibly dangerous, volcanically active death world. But there are 7 cities on which humanity can survive, and it is for that reason, chat, that the Salamanders have less Space Marines than a normal chapter. A Space Marine chapter is divided into 10, what is supposed to be 10 companies, plus 1 extra company for recruitment. The Salamanders have just 8 companies. Have just 8. The first company, the Fire Drakes, the second, the third, all the way down to the 7th. Their 8th company unofficially being their recruitment company. And that is because there are only 7 settlements on Nocturne, ergo only 7 places for the Salamanders to recruit their human recruits from, ergo only 7 main companies. Their Fortress Monastery, where all of their war machines and all of their space fleets are located, is actually not on. It's not on Nocturne itself. It is on Nocturne's moon, Prometheus. And this is where everybody, all the key figures in the Salamander's command structure are located. The chapter master, the company captains, the head apothecary, the head librarian, the lead chaplain, the fleet master, the master of the forge, and the master of the armory are all located here. And of course, how could I forget, pardon me, probably one of the most important members of the Salamander's High Command, the Forge Father. As of writing, Vulcan Heston is the current Forge Father of the Salamander's chapter of Space Marines. And you may be thinking to yourself, given that special title, is he the chapter master? No, he's not. That is the chapter master position belongs to chapter master, as of this writing again, to Sean. Vulcan Heston is the Forge Father of the Salamanders. And what that means is Vulcan and Vulcan alone is in charge of locating all the artifacts of the Primarch Vulcan. And once he has reunited all the artifacts of their Primarch and solved the riddles within the Tome of Fire, it is then that the Primarch Vulcan himself properly will return to the Salamanders. Basically, Heston himself is what amounts to a herald. One who is searching for the Primarch through the clues left behind within the Tome of Fire and all of the artifacts. The 9 artifacts of Vulcan is what he's looking for. He is essentially a Space Marine captain, but he can also, because of his great stature and his great quest, he can draw elements from any other part of the Salamanders chapter. Heston himself has 3, believe it or not, has 3 Vulcan, or blah blah blah, artifacts of Vulcan on his person at all times. The Spear of Vulcan, Kessar's Mantle, and the Gauntlet of the Forge. So like his cloak, this gauntlet here, and this spear here as well. Beyond that, there are normal Space Marine chapter in in terms of combat doctrine, in terms of loyalty to the Imperium, etc., etc. They have remained loyal even since before the Horus Heresy. And unfortunately, the Horus Heresy almost saw the chapter being absolutely decimated. I mentioned this again briefly, very, very briefly in passing, but during the Istvan Drop Site Massacre, the Salamanders, alongside the Raven Guard and the Iron Hands, were almost annihilated because they were caught off guard during the drop, because they did not know at the time that their other supposed allies had betrayed them and joined Horus already. Oh, okay, hold on. Birdport, what do you got for me here? Let me see this. Let me see this. What do you got here? One moment. Let me pause this, or mute that for a moment so I can just check on this. Oh, I've seen this. Okay. All right, I had to show this off now. God damn it, this is actually amazing. Holy shit. This is great. Birdport, this is a great find. Holy crap. I love this. I love this.
Guardsmen, how was the battle going?
It's not looking good, sir. More heretic Space Marines have arrived. It appears to be Night Lords and Emperor's children.
Ha! Surely these Night Lords will be no match for the Emperor's children.
They're both heretic legions, sir.
Wait, what?
We're truly in dire straits.
They call themselves the Emperor's children.
Yes, sir. Loyalist turned traitor, I'm afraid.
And they kept the name.
More drop pods incoming. By the throne, it's the Ultramarines.
Okay,
yeah, I know that, Legion. They're the boring loyalists. Yup.
Chapters now, sir. What did I say? Legion? What's the bloody difference? Well, after the Horus Heresy in the 31st millennium...
Oh, who cares?
Specifically, it was Rabute Gilliman who...
Rhetorical
Question, Guardsman.
More pods just landed. 2 companies of flesh eaters and blood drinkers.
Okay, those guys are
definitely chaos.
Far from it, sir. They're both very loyal. Blood drinkers and flesh eaters are loyal? Yes, sir. As are the flesh terrors. More drop pods, minotaurs.
Dare I even
ask?
Loyalists. But don't cross them. They nearly wiped out an entire loyalist chapter.
They sure did.
Why do we keep them around? Incoming.
Oh, who can it be now?
It's the Alpha Legion.
Oh no.
Loyalist or heretic?
That depends. What day is it?
It's Thursday, I think.
Good. Then they're loyalists.
So confusing.
It's all outlined in the uplifting primer, sir.
Wait, you actually read that rubbish?
New contacts. They're not Space Marines.
Then, what are they?
Sir, it's been an honor serving with you.
What do you mean?
P14. P14.
Do you know what the B in bingo stands for, old chap? Don't make a scene. It stands for bollocks.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Birdport. That was amazing. Holy crap. That was great. That was great. That was absolutely incredible. Holy shit. Well done. Well done. That was beautiful. Oh god. Whew, okay. What was I gonna say next in terms of my favorite salamanders, my boys? It's courtesy of my friend Ian, bless him. Thank you, Ian. Thank you. Yeah. So the Isfahan Dropside Massacre almost annihilated not just the salamanders, but the Iron Hands of the Raven Guard as well. So for the majority of the Horus Heresy, they were spent, the salamanders specifically, their time was spent regrouping, rebuilding, and like, you know, just recovering from what happened. And by the time the heresy was over, Vulcan had spoken to Guilliman and voiced his concerns about breaking up a legion down into a chapter. Because of the events of the Horus Heresy, the Salamanders were already under strength. And Vulcan was worried that, like, listen, my legion has already been weakened by the events of the Heresy. If you divide us into a chapter now, we're not, you know, we're not going to survive. The chapters that you create are just going to be weaker and weaker. So, at the time, Guilliman made an exception for the Salamanders to not split the Salamanders Legion, what remained of the Legion, up into different chapters. Although, now, thanks to the Ultima founding with the introduction of Primaris Marines, the Salamanders are now much more normal, have a normal-sized Space Marine chapter, and are actually now able to produce successor chapters of their own. Gamer Guy, what's going on? Hello, hello. You have joined me in the middle of another installment of a Warhammer 40K deep dive. This time we are doing... we are going through Space Marines specifically, the faction I know the most about, because I've been playing Salamander's Space Marines since 40K 5th edition. I've been playing with that for a long time. What's really neat about the Salamanders in terms of their specific chapter doctrine, close combat, flame weaponry, but moreover than just combat doctrine, what they follow, what they espouse is willpower, devotion, self-sacrifice. Because what they embrace is what is known as the Promethean cult. And what that basically means is that they can and will lay their lives on the line to protect what a lot of other Space Marine chapters have lost sight of, or even look down upon, which is normal human beings, normal unmodified human beings. To the point where, you know, when I mentioned on Prometheus, the Salamanders, or sorry, not Prometheus, Nocturne. When I mentioned that on Nocturne, there's only 7 habitable settlements on the planet, correct? And that's where the Salamanders will draw their human recruits. That's also where the Salamander Space Marines themselves live. That's right. Unlike other Space Marine chapters who live apart from humanity, the Salamanders live with humanity as a reminder to themselves, hey, this is where we came from. This is also who we are meant to protect. And I think that's honestly why I love the Salamanders so much. They don't eschew their humanity. They don't see humanity as a sign, their own humanity, as a sign of weakness. They see it as a sign of strength. So when they're not out in the galaxy, you know, fighting wars, fighting demons, fighting orcs, etc., etc., they live in one of these 7 cities on Prometheus, and they will act as blacksmiths. They will act as village elders. They will act as village protectors to the very humans that they came from. And I think that's really fucking cool. I think that's really fucking cool. One of my favorite stories, actually, from the third War of Armageddon, if I remember this correctly. Chapter Master Tushan of the Salamanders came to physical blows with another Space Marine captain of... here it is! Captain Vineyard of the Marines Malevolent. During that War of Armageddon, Chapter Master Tushan wanted to send in his salamanders to evacuate a refugee camp because it was being overrun by orcs. As the entire planet of Armageddon was at the time, let's be real here. He wanted to send his salamanders into that refugee camp to help get those refugees out of the line of fire so that he can send in the rest of his force to help deal with the onrush of orcs in that sector. Captain Vineyard of the Marines Malevolent decided to skip a couple of steps. He decided to start firing artillery into the refugee camp, even though it had not yet been fully evacuated. Meaning that he was willing to sacrifice human lives just to destroy the orcs that were attacking. This did not sit well with Chapter Master Tushan at all. He told Captain Vineyard to stop, and when Captain Vineyard refused, Chapter Master Tushan physically made Captain Vineyard stop. He literally punched Captain Vineyard out. Chapter Master Tushan was willing to stand up to a fellow Space Marine in order to protect human lives. It's stories like this that make me love the Salamanders, because in my mind, and the way they're written, not just in Space Marine lore, but in Space Marine novels, they're written as what are quite possibly the only humane Space Marine chapter in existence? Question mark? Yes, they still recruit humans at a very young age and do horrible things to them to make them into the quote-unquote perfect warrior. Yes, they still do that. But they are probably one of the closest Space Marine chapters out there who give a damn about humanity and not actually just see them as useless or weak. And that's honestly why I love the Salamanders so goddamn much. They're just really cool like that, honestly. They're really fucking cool like that. They specialize, by the way, in two types of weaponry. Not just close combat weapons, but like flame weapons, like flamers and heavy flamers, and specifically melta weaponry. What's a melta weapon, chef? Well, I'll tell you. Give me a moment. Because there is one very specific quote regarding melta weaponry that I absolutely have to quote word for word because it's just that good. Where? Space Marine Armory, there it is. Space Marine Weaponry, here we go. Ranged weaponry. Found it! Melta weaponry. Okay. If the Lexicana will load. Okay. This... this, right here, is a melta-gun. This type of weapon is what the Salamanders specialize in, besides flame weaponry. Melta weaponry, and I quote, "Melta weapons are potent weaponry that work by either subatomic agitation of the target causing to cook or otherwise melt, or by creating a small-scale fusion reaction within the weapon, which is then projected as a blast, which can burn through almost anything with far greater effect the closer the firer is to its intended target. You're literally firing off a small, focused fusion detonation that will vaporize flesh and armor alike. That's the kind of weaponry the salamanders thrive on. Oh, hell yeah. When they say into the fires of battle unto the end of war, they don't mess around with that at all. Like, at all. I love the salamanders to death. They're the best. And just as a one more really cool note, because they thrive on close combat sort of situations, and because of their very blacksmith undertones and overtones, a lot of the iconic Sunrise Lands. Thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate that. A lot of the iconic weaponry that salamanders will be depicted with are thunder hammers, which I love. Look how intimidating that is. There's a reason why the Salamanders chapter had been my chapter of Space Marine since 5th edition. As a Sisters battle player, I love me some Meltas and Flamers. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Absolutely. Alright, what chapter of Space Marine shall we cover next on our little deep dive? You know what? They're here. I might as well. And because I actually really do like this chapter quite a bit. The Blood Angels. The Blood Angels. We will actually... give me a moment, chat. I just realized I'm out of coffee, and I would love some more coffee. We are going to take a very, very quick break, and then we'll continue with the Blood Angels once we get back. All right? I will be right back, but Sunrise Land, again, thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, we'll continue this as soon as I get back with some more coffee. BRB, y'all. All right, chat, we're back. Hello, hello, everyone. Sorry about that. I realized that I needed to A, get up and stretch, and B, I was also desperately out of coffee. But I have stretched and I have coffee again, which is great because my God, I can't I can't survive without it. I might be a caffeine addict at this rate. Anyway. Hello, everyone. We are back. We are back. We are back. We're good to go. And we're continuing on for some Space Marines deep dives, and we're going to continue on with the Blood Angels. Their Primarch was Sanguinius, their current chapter master is Dante, and their homeworld, which somehow still stands, is Baal. Sanguinius, honestly, one of the cooler looking Primarchs to me. Motherfucker had wings, look at that. Dude had wings. I love how Sanguinius looks. Dante, who may or may not be from Devil May Cry. Dante has been chapter master of the Blood Angels for so long. Like, literally. Yeah. Look, the longevity of the Blood Angels of Dante, 1,100 years. That's long even for a Space Marine. That is long even for a Space Marine. Absolutely wild. Now, the Blood Angels, even during the Great Crusade, during the Great Crusade, during the Horus Heresy, they were famed, and they are still famed for fast, hard-hitting assaults, like close-up melee assaults and deep strikes. That is their entire combat doctrine. Close the gap with the enemy as fast as possible, hit enemy lines as hard as possible, and just proceed to eliminate and butcher them from there on out. That is the Blood Angels' MO. That has been the Blood Angels' MO from day one. And unfortunately, it comes at the cost. It comes at the cost of what is simply known as the flaw. Be it the Red Thirst, be it the Black Rage, it is simply known as the flaw within the Blood Angels themselves. The Red Thirst affects not just the Blood Angels, but literally all of the Blood Angels' successor chapters. And what the Red Thirst means is the Red Thirst. Oh, I literally just lost where I was reading from. Here we go. The Red Thirst causes Blood Angels warriors to suffer an unusual level of bloodlust, instilling them with a thirst for the blood of their enemies. Those who are found to succumb to the Red Thirst or the Black Rage are either formed into the Death Company, and I'll cover the Death Company shortly, or are locked away within the Tower of the Lost on Baal until they change entirely, losing their sanity. So, like, imagine, if you will, you're alone, you're a part of the Imperial Guard, you're fighting a war, you get communications that you're receiving Space Marine backup. Oh, thank the Emperor, finally, we're gonna turn the tide of the war in our favor. They arrive, and it's the Blood Angels. Like, alright, Emperor be praised. We have the Blood Angels on our side, the battle starts turning in your favor, and then you just happen to notice one of the Blood Angels start to go a little crazy. Like, you know, At the beginning, you don't think too much of it, like, okay, maybe that's just how a Space Marine fights. Maybe they're just really, really into dismembering their enemies, and then you start seeing them, like, you see him rip his helmet off and just bury his fangs into the neck of an enemy, or just, I don't know, rip the enemy's head off with his bare hands and start drinking all the blood that starts gushing out. Yeah, that blood angel has just succumbed to the red thirst, and you better get out of his line of sight, because he will turn on you next. He will turn on you next. There is no discerning friend from foe once a blood angel has succumbed to the red thirst. On that note, the Black Rage itself also afflicts the blood angels and all of their successor chapters. What the Black Rage is a psychic imprint that was left on all blood angels and all future blood angels the moment Sanguinius was killed by Horus. Every blood angel on the battlefield felt that psychic death immediately. And it drove them mad. It drove them insane. They started butchering anything they saw, anything that moved in their line of sight. They would tear limb from limb, be it friend or foe. And that is what will happen, that has a chance of happening, rather, to blood angels to this day. They will suffer from the Black Rage to the point where it's just, if they see someone succumb to the Black Rage on the battlefield, they are left there. And like at that point, their only shred of dignity they have left is to die in battle. Or what the Blood Angels themselves will do is create what is known as a death company. Their armor is painted black, and their chapter insignia is replaced with a red X and a skull. And what a death company is within the Blood Angels, it is formed of members of the chapter who are just about to succumb to the Black Rage. And they are just grouped together, pointed in the general direction of the enemy, and let loose onto the battlefield. Just literally just a company of bloodthirsty, superhuman berserkers let loose onto the battlefield and just pointed in the general direction of the enemy, like, go, kill. And they will. Do some of them die? Yes, obviously, but like, what better way to destroy the enemy and let your battle brothers have one shred of dignity with the dignity that comes in death in battle to service of the chapter. It's morbid as hell, but like, man, literally the I can't believe I'm about to make this fucking joke, but the Death Company is literally made up of blood angels who are morbid out. I hate that I made that joke. I absolutely hate that I made that joke, but it's essentially what it is. Fun fact, by the way, fun facts. In the history, in the existence of the Blood Angels, there is only one person who is known to beat the Black Rage, who has succumbed to the Black Rage, but controlled it, and not only controlled it, but utilized it to, like, in battle for himself in service to the chapter, and that is High Chaplain Lamartes. Lamartes, in the entire history of the Blood Angels, is the only one who has been known to conquer the Black Rage, and not only live, but return in service in full to the chapter. All his mental faculties intact, 100%. Literally the only person to conquer the Black Death. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. But flaw aside, Red Thirst and Black Rage aside, the Blood Angels are still loyal to this day, and they will 100% fight and die, not just for themselves, but for the Imperium at large. I can find a really good picture of them. I think, yeah, this is a really good picture. I think this is from the current Blood Angels Codex, yes? Yep, here we go. Flaws aside, the Blood Angels are forever loyal to the Imperium and to the cause of the Emperor. They will willingly lay their lives down for that. And they continue to fight on the side of the Imperium to this day. I really like the Blood Angels, honestly. Because one of their units, one of their special units that only they have... Where is the Exsanguinor? Where is the Exsanguinor? Here we go. Noted elements of the Blood Angels. Blood Angels armory, known aircraft, vehicles, Heresy era, post-Heresy era. Here we go. Brother Corbulo. The Sanguinor! There we are. The Sanguinor. Rumors among the Blood Angels say that this is the manifestation of the spirit of Sanguinius, but nobody really knows who or even what the Sanguinor is. The Sanguinor will arrive when the Blood Angels need him the most to turn the tide of battle in the favor of the Blood Angels, and when the battle is over, the Sanguinor mysteriously disappears. Nobody knows who is underneath the armor. All they know is that once the Sanguinor arrives, the battle has turned in their favor. And there we go. Just aesthetics alone, I really like the Blood Angels and how they look. Just on aesthetics alone. Just on aesthetics alone. The Dark Angels, oh man. Where do I even begin with the Dark Angels? They honestly could be their own rant at this point. Check this out. This is all you really need to know about the Dark Angels. This is like the perfect fucking summary of them right now. Repent, for tomorrow you die. The Dark Angels, excuse me, are built upon secrecy. Really. They're built upon secrecy. Because during the onset of the Horus Heresy, something happened with the Dark Angels that would forever cast them, to this day, will forever cast them with an air of suspicion. It is known as the Great Betrayal. Luther, the right hand, the second in command of the Blood Angels Legion, besides the Primarch Lionel Johnson, betrayed Lionel Johnson, took half the Legion, and led a rebellion on the Blood. I keep saying Blood Angels, the Dark Angels' homeworld of Caliban. And it started a civil war so fierce that the planet itself broke apart. To this day, members of the Dark Angels continue to hunt down who they call the Fallen. Elements of the original Dark Angels Legion that still exist today and have sworn loyalty to the forces of chaos. And just to add insult to injury, the Fallen wear the original colors of the Dark Angels Legion, black and red, sort of to mock the Dark Angels today. And it's absolutely wild because, like, even as I had mentioned, the Dark Angels are still held in some suspicion amongst the Imperial Inquisition and even amongst other Space Marine chapters, because you don't really know. They refuse to talk about what happened on Caliban that day when the Great Betrayal happened. So, like, one of the popular fan theories actually says that Lionel Johnson was the one who was ready to turn to chaos, and Luther was the one who was trying to keep the Dark Angels loyal. Who knows at this point? The Fallen have an objectively better color scheme, IMO. I kind of agree, honestly. I like the black and red way more than the olive green. Like, really, I like the black and red more than the olive green. And the Dark Angels, honestly, they are split into two different great companies. The Deathwing, which is their first company, denoted by this bone, like sort of bone color and dark green robes. And the Raven Wing, who instead of Terminator armor, fight almost exclusively as mounted units on Space Marine bikes and have more of a blackish color scheme to them, with elements of white and red. And like the levels of secrecy that the Dark Angels keep extends not just to people outside of the Dark Angels Space Marine chapter, but even within the Dark Angels chapter itself. Because there are things that recruits don't know that are only privy to, like, First Company veterans, and even then, there are secrets that not even the First Company veterans know and are only privy to the top echelon of the Dark Angels command structure. Like, secrets within secrets. It's kind of nuts, honestly. It's kind of crazy. That is why they're so, like, kept at arm's length, kept with an air of distrust, with an air of sort of, like, I don't know, are you actually an ally to us? So far, the Dark Angels have remained loyal to the Imperium, but there have been notable occasions in which the Dark Angels will go against set mission parameters and will go against advice from their military allies on the battlefield just because they got the slightest shred of evidence that maybe there was a member of the Fallen in the area, and they will divert all of their resources to tracking down that member of the Fallen, even if it means giving up on the current mission status. Which is, again, not endearing them to any other Imperial military asset at all, because, like, how trustworthy are you actually being if you'll abandon the main mission to go chase off, you know, something else entirely unrelated to the current mission? It got to the point where even during the Great Crusade, some people would view Lionel Johnson and the Dark Angels as just like, you know, like, can we actually trust you? You know, you keep secrets to yourselves. You don't tell the rest of us. You know, where's your honor in that? The biggest and angriest proponent to the Dark Angels was Layman Russ and his Space Wolves. To the point where that Layman Russ and Lionel Johnson came to blows on many, many different occasions. And it's a rivalry that exists even to this day in the current Warhammer 40K timeline. If the Space Wolves and the Dark Angels are ever on the same battlefield as one another, they have to satisfy that grudge between Lionel Johnson and Layman Russ. They will pick the strongest fighter they have and set them one-on-one in what they call an honor duel against one another. And it's absolutely wild, and I kind of love it. I kind of love it, honestly. It's really fucking cool. Like even within the Death Watch, because remember what I said earlier, the Death Watch are recruited from different Space Marine chapters, which can include the Space Wolves and can absolutely include the Dark Angels, right? So like if you put a Dark Angels Space Marine alongside a Space Wolves Space Marine in the same Death Watch combat squad, they will still honor that duel between Russ and Lionel Johnson. They'll still work together for the betterment of the mission, but they will be at each other's throats the entire time. They will be at each other's throats the entire time. Before I move on to the Space Wolves, another notable thing I can mention about the Dark Angels, they specialize in plasma weaponry. Remember how the Salamanders specialized in flame and melta weaponry? The Dark Angels absolutely are like the masters of plasma guns. Like they have plasma weaponry that not even the rest of the Imperium has seen yet. Plasma pistols, plasma guns, plasma cannons, plasma talons, plasma storm batteries. I think one of these is actually only a part or available to Dark Angels units as well. But like, if you want plasma specialists, the Dark Angels are your go-to. If you want bloody, brutal melee assaults, the Space Wolves are your Space Marines chapter. The Space Wolves are quite literally Space Vikings, and it is, oh, it's so good. Their homeworld is Fenris. Their Primarch was the great Layman Russ. Their current chapter master is the utter badass that is Logan Grimnar. Oh, man. Fenris also, unsurprisingly, not just a death world, it's a feral world as well. To the surprise of absolutely no one. No. Just to drive home the Norse mythology look entirely more. This is what Layman Russ looked like when he first arrived on Fenris. This is Layman Russ when he first arrived on Fenris. This is Layman Russ by the time of the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, fully clad in Space Marine armor, Primarch of the Space Wolves Space Marine Legion. He was a warrior without peer. Honestly. He was one of the most brutal Primarchs in terms of just efficiency, cunning, and martial prowess. He is succeeded now by acting chapter master, the Great Wolf, Logan Grimnar. I mentioned before, Grimnar took his axe from Cornate Demon because he killed the Cornate Demon and immediately took the axe for himself after he reforged it. That is because Logan Grimnar is that much of a badass. And I love Logan Grimnar to death. If I wasn't, I'll be real. If I wasn't already playing Salamanders, I'd probably be playing Space Wolves by now. I would most likely be playing Space Wolves by now. The really cool thing, the really absolutely fucking cool thing about the Space Wolves. There's two things about the Space Wolves, actually. They have their own sort of curse, but it's not as bad as like the Blood Angels curse, quote unquote. Because there is also, hold on a second. Where are they? Where are they? Yes! They have one of the coolest units I have ever seen in any tabletop game. Because you know how I said that Space Marines are 7.5 feet tall with really heavy armor and like a ridiculous physical strength? right? The Space Wolves have Thunderwolf cavalry. They have Space Marines on the back of giant Fenrisian wolves that they have tamed and ride into battle. Look at this visual, chat. Look at this visual. Look at this fucking visual. I want you to keep in mind that Space Marines canonically are anywhere between 7.5 and 8 feet tall with their armor. Think of how big and strong these Fenrisian wolves must be to allow a fully armored Space Marine to ride on their back into the midst of battle. Look at how amazing this is. I love this. This is so good. This is a unit that only the Space Wolves can field because they're the only ones who are known to do this amongst Space Marines, and it's kind of fucking great. Oh my god, I love this. It's so good. It's so fucking good. The other thing that the Space Wolves specifically have to worry about, they have what is known as the Curse of the Wolfen. And what that means is that, much like the Blood Angels, there is something wrong with the Space Wolves' gene seed, what they call the Canis Helix. There's something very off about the Space Wolves' gene seed in that it causes all aspirants and all members of the Space Wolves to become pretty much almost feral. Like, their fangs will grow longer, their hair almost starts resembling fur. Sometimes they will even start to transform into, you know, parts of their bodies will take on very, very lupine, canid characteristics. They'll have talons instead of fingernails. Their legs will become digidegrade and will be very canid in appearance. Their senses will sharpen. Their sense of smell will sharpen. Their sense of hearing and sight will all sharpen, even further beyond what is already an impressive physiology for a Space Marine. Chat, what I'm trying to say is that they're basically werewolves. They very much are werewolves. And this is something the Space Wolves have desperately tried to hide from the Imperium at large, particularly the Imperial Inquisition. But when Fenris itself became assaulted by the forces of chaos, the Wolfen, incredibly, the 13th Company came out of the warp to help defend Fenris, proving their loyalty not just to the Space Wolves, mind you, but to the Imperium at large. So despite their glaring mutations, they remained loyal. They are still loyal members of the Space Wolves, which is kind of incredible, honestly. Space Wolves are super cool, but I'm a World Eaters fan, so I'm contractually obligated to not like them. Fair, Sunrise Land. Fair. Yeah, if you want hard-hitting, melee-oriented assault army, that's not the World Eaters and that's not the Blood Angels. The Space Wolves are definitely a Space Marine army I think you should pick up, honestly. They're very cool. The Viking, I wouldn't even call them undertones. The Viking sort of look is there. It's out there. It's really fucking cool. And I really enjoy the Space Wolves aesthetic quite a lot. Quite a lot. Ah, the boys in yellow, the Imperial Fists. Makers of and destroyers of siegecraft. I'm not even kidding. Their whole specialty is defensive warfare and siege warfare. They were based on Terra, but now they are based... Their fortress monastery is the Phalanx, which is literally a massive, massive space station from which they can draw most of their fleet power. It's really fucking neat. The Imperial Fists are, if you can believe it, they give the Ultramarines a run for their money in in levels of snobbish, stuck-up attitude. The Ultramarines and Robuta Guilliman are credited with creating the Codex Astartes. The Imperial Fists are known for almost religiously adhering to the Codex Astartes. What's it called? Black Templars aside, obviously. Black Templars aside. Excuse me. They are probably, more so than any other Space Marines chapter, known for not just building defensive fortifications, not just for repelling sieges from enemy elements, but for being masters of siegecraft. Depending on how much you like to support their chaos-aligned counterparts, the Iron Warriors, because, oh boy, the rivalry between the Imperial Fist and the Iron Warriors goes back even before the Great Crusade, even before the Horus Heresy. Dorn, oh man. Dorn and Pertrabo. When I cover Chaos, I'll go more into that, but Dorn and Pertrabo do not like one another. Did not like one another. Good God. Another thing that the Imperial Fists are known for is their uncanny and unerring bolter accuracy. Literally, one of their rules in the Space Marines Codex is literally just bolter drill, which gets them more shots with bolt weaponry if certain criteria are met, which is kind of wild, honestly. They are very much like, they are very much what is, in essence, what a Space Marine is, quote unquote, should be, or like your archetypical or archetypal, Space Marine. Very much in the same vein as the Ultramarines. Very, very, very much in the same vein as the Ultramarines. Just don't tell that to their face because, oh dear God, they hate being compared to the Ultramarines. They absolutely hate being compared to the Ultramarines. Rogal Dorn, by the way, the Praetorian, as he was called back in the day. Dorn is such a badass. Like, look at this man. Look at this man. Even as a young man, Dorn is a strapping young man. And I will say this: somebody pointed this out to me. One of my friends pointed this out to me, particularly about this picture in general. This picture in particular. And I can never unsee this now. Young Rogal Dorn looks very much like Homelander. And I can't fucking unsee it now. I can't fucking unsee it now. It's just all of this. God damn it. Praetorian is a very cool and very ominous title. Yes, you're right. You are absolutely correct, Birdportant. Well, thank you for that cursed knowledge. Dorn, the thing Dorn is probably most well known for is for constructing and maintaining the defense of the Imperial Palace all the way up until the final, literally the final battle of the Horus Heresy. He is the one who made sure the Imperial Palace did not fall, because it was him and the Emperor who set the defenses of the Imperial Palace and would hold the line against Horus and his invading Chaos Army. So it is why, to this day, in the present 40k timeline, the Imperial Fists are still known as the Defenders of Terra. Honestly, Imperial Fists are the most boring and generic chapter to me. At least Ultramarines have a cool aesthetic to them. I kind of agree with you, Sunrise Land, yeah. I'm struggling to point out anything that, like, makes the Imperial Fists stand out, because, like, I'll be real, there are two sub-chapters, there are two successor chapters, the Black Templars and the Crimson Fists, way more interesting than the Imperial Fists. Way more interesting. By leaps and bounds, way more interesting. The Raven Guard. The Raven Guard. Homeworld Deliverance. Fortress Monastery, Ravenspire. Current Chapter Master, the Shadow Commander himself, Kayvon Shrike. If you want a Space Marine army that is all about subterfuge, stealth, and just what they like to call the decapitating strike, meaning they will eliminate the enemy's command structure and just from there watch the rest of the army crumble into chaos and just pick them off one by one after that. The Raven Guard are your go-to choice for that, because that is exactly what they specialize in. That is 100% what the Raven Guard specialize in. Infiltration, guerrilla warfare, and fast attack assaults. That is 100% what the Raven Guard specialize in. And on a personal note, I love their battle cry. Victoris aut mortis. Victory or death. Oh, that's so badass. And oh yeah, oh good, they used this picture. The Primarch, Corvus Corax. Just look at this. Just look at this. That is so fucking cool. The talons, the massive winged jetpack, the Corvid skull built into the Imperial Aquila. That's just aesthetically, absolutely love the Raven Guard. Holy cow. I absolutely love the Raven Guard on looks alone. They popularized, by the way, this specific armor right here. The Beaky armor, the Mark V armor, appropriately named the Corvus armor. That's why Warhammer fans of a certain age will call their Space Marines Beakies. Ooh, and I just dated myself right there. Jesus Christ. But yeah, subterfuge, disruption of enemy supply lines, assassination of enemy leadership elements. That is all of what the Raven Guard will do. They'll disrupt enemy supply lines to isolate them. They'll destroy the enemy leadership to leave the rest of the enemy army in chaos. And when they're at their most vulnerable is when they will strike hard and strike fast to eliminate what remains of a now already weakened enemy force. I love that kind of playstyle. It's really cool. And honestly, I'll be real with you, chat. If I was better at painting black armor like this, I think I would have a bit more love for the Raven Guard. I really do like their aesthetic though, particularly with the super modified armor that Chapter Master Kayvon Shrike has currently. Because he's got the same kind of look almost as Corvus Corax did back in the day. Because he's got the talons, he's got the modified pistol, he's got the modified jetpack. I just really like this look. I like this look a lot. It's really cool. The Raven Guard are really fucking cool to me. The Iron Hands, the Iron Hands are very much embraced. They have very much embraced bionics and technology to the point where that they are one and the same. You know, they have very, very close ties with the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Cult Mechanicus. Because they believe that even as modified as Space Marines are, their flesh is still quite weak, and they will upgrade themselves with bionics whenever they have the chance. The fact that Korax, a 10-foot-tall demigod, can be stealthy in full power armor is terrifying, right? Right? Yeah. Here we go. This right here is the extent to which the Iron Hands will augment their already prodigious Space Marine bodies with bionics. Like, replacing entire limbs, like interfacing with their armor directly through implants in their skull. Yeah. If you want Space Marine body horror, the Iron Hands are definitely for you. As a result, the Iron Hands, even to this day, are incredibly resilient. Even by Space Marine standards, they're incredibly resilient because of the lengthy bionic modifications they have done to themselves. Like, they can take damage that might knock out a normal Space Marine, like an unbionically modified Space Marine, and they'll keep kicking. The Iron Hands themselves will keep on fighting. That is the extent of their bionics and their modifications. To the point that even, unlike the Blood Angels, because remember, the Blood Angels lost their Primarch during the Horus Heresy, and they got hit with psychic backlash so hard that it affects them even to this day. Not the Iron Hands. When Ferrus Manus was killed by Fulgrim, it didn't affect the Iron Hands Space Marines in the same way. They mourned the loss of their Primarch, yes, but they didn't have any sort of debilitating psychic backlash. As a matter of fact, even some of the command structure of the Iron Hands that would replace Ferrus Manus in his absence after his death would call into question Ferrus Manus's shall we say decision making in that time, because instead of being logical, Ferrus Manus embraced anger, which obviously is a human emotion. The anger of being betrayed by a man he called brother, a man he called friend, and they would sort of look down upon that, and that is what we need to eliminate. We cannot fall prey to human emotion anymore. So, as a result, again, I say this a lot, but again, even by Space Marine standards, the Iron Hands are very standoffish, cold, detached. One would definitely even say machine-like, because you're not even wrong in that case. Still loyal to this day, but again, just... Oh, here we go, perfect. Not this one. This one. That's even... Just, this is the level of modification that most Iron Hands Space Marines will go to. Granted, this is an Iron Hands Tech Marine, and Tech Marines will undergo that level of modification regardless, but still, even if I can pick up yep, there we go. Here's the picture I showed earlier. Even Cardan Stronos, the current chapter master of the of the Iron Hands, even he has that level of modification, that level of bionics. The Iron Hands are just ruthless, machine ruthlessness, for obvious reasons. Ah, the White Scars. Another one, aesthetically, another one of my favorite Space Marines chapters. Because, yep, here we go. Here it is, yes. The White Scars, more so than any other Space Marine chapter, are born and bred for mounted warfare. Space Marine bikes, land speeders, anything that goes fast and gets them into the thick of the enemy quicker, they will use. 100% they will use. You can feel, it used to be back in the day, and I remember this specifically, the only reason why people used to play White Scars back in the day, you could field an entire army of just nothing but Space Marine bikers. And that was a legal army you could field. And it was brutal to play against. It was absolutely brutal to play against. They would close in on you so fast. Just a pincer maneuver from both sides with nothing but mounted Space Marine infantry just closing in and encircling you. Oh man. I love the White Scars. They're so goddamn cool. Now, if you couldn't tell just from their aesthetics and just from their naming, from their nomenclature, Jakti Khan, Jubal Khan, their homeworld is Chogoris, their fortress monastery is Guangzhou. Mongols. The Mongol horde, Genghis Khan, that is what the White Scars are modeled after. That is exactly what the White Scars are modeled after. That sort of like mounted cavalry sort of, yeah, see, here we go. The White Scars Primarch, Jakti Khan, when he first arrived on Chogoris, and then Khan when he became fully the Primarch to the White Scars. God, that's such a badass look, are you kidding me? Oh! Fast, hard-hitting, rapid encirclement assaults, harrying enemy supply lines, striking from where the enemy least expects it, and then being able to maneuver out of the way of retaliatory fire. That is the battle style that Jakti Khan instilled into the White Scars Space Marine Legion, and it's what the White Scars continue to do to this day, even in the current 40K, where the 40K timeline exists now. Rapid, hard-hitting assaults. They are one of... from a tabletop standpoint, in my opinion, they are one of the most difficult armies to paint, because painting an army that's like 90%, when their armor is like 90% white with some red trim, that gets incredibly annoying, in my opinion at least. Gets very frustrating to try and paint. But I do so love the White Scars. Aesthetically, they're so fucking cool. They're so fucking cool. They have a lot of their nomenclature alludes to like this, like storms and winds and lightning and stuff like that. It's just I love just the White Scars aesthetically. Will I personally ever stop playing as the Salamanders? Absolutely not. I love my Dragon Boys too much to not play as Salamanders. Literally been playing Salamanders since Warhammer 40K 5th edition. I don't think I'm going to stop anytime soon. I've literally only just added to the number of armies I play. I haven't gotten rid of them at all. Full disclosure, if anyone's curious, main army, Salamanders, Space Marines. Secondary army, Freebooter Orcs, because I love me some pirate orcs. What can I say? Freebooter Orcs, because I love pirate orcs. I'm thinking of getting a third army. No, I'm not even thinking. I know what third army I want to add, because I've downsized a little bit. I'm gonna get rid of. I want to get rid of my Imperial Knights. I want to get rid of my Adeptus Custodes. I eventually want to add Leagues of Votan because, oh my god, the squats are back, finally. I'm old enough to know that... I'm old enough to know when they were squats, not Leagues of Votan. Let's put it that way. Christ, I feel old! Christ, I feel old! But yeah, I love the White Scars. And finally, as far as founding Space Marine chapters go, the Ultra Smurfs, the Ultramarines, the boys in blue and gold and white. If you were to use the phrase generic 40K Space Marine, I would probably show you a picture of the Ultramarines and you'd probably understand exactly what I mean. They are the poster boy. The Ultramarines are the poster boys of not just the Space Marines in general, but I would say the poster boys of Warhammer 40K in general, because they are literally everywhere. They are ubiquitous. They are on every single book cover, not just the Space Marine Codex books, but like the rule books. They are there. This is like generic McRegular person. Generic McRegular person right here. I will admit, and Sunrise Land, I believe you had mentioned it earlier as well. I will admit they actually do have a pretty neat aesthetic, especially when it comes to Gilliman himself. Yeah. That, like, sort of very Greco-Roman inspired sort of armor, like with the sculpted abs, the large-ass gladius. Yeah, I'll admit that's a really cool aesthetic. I'm not gonna lie. I won't even deny that. It's just, I find it hard to talk about Ultramarines the same way I found it hard to talk about the Imperial Fists, because they're Space Marines. What else can I say about them? The Ultramarines, I will also say, the Ultramarines have a couple of things going for them that I can touch on, and I have touched on in the past. One is that Papa Smurf, the big Papa Smurf, is back. Robute Gilliman, now Lord Regent of the Imperium, is back and is the only Loyalist Primarch that is available to play on the tabletop right now, even though I guarantee you Vulcan is still out there. He's a perpetual, he's an immortal. He's literally been atomized and come back to life. You can't get rid of him that easily. The second thing I can absolutely give to the Ultramarines being that they were the one. Gilliman was the one who created the Codex Astartes in the first place. He was the one who, again, made mention to the rest and the remaining loyalist legions that, hey, with this type of heresy at this scale should never, ever, ever happen again. And that is, that was the impetus for Gilliman to create the Codex Astartes. Yeah, we'll definitely give him that as well. Gilliman, why do I still live? Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Good God. That speech from Gilliman. Holy cow. Oh god, let me find it. 1 second. I need to find it. 1 second. Because that was a really telling quote. Because it pointed out to the reader that Gilliman, despite essentially being a demigod, had some humanity left in him. Where is it? I can't find it. Oh, Sunrise Land, thank you so much. There you go. Yeah, you got it for me. Thank you. Because this is a really good fucking quote. I'm not gonna lie, this is a really good fucking quote. Here we go. Why do I still live? What more do you want from me? I gave everything I had to you, to them. Look what they have made of our dream. This bloated, rotten carcass of an empire that is driven not by reason and hope, but by fear, hate, and ignorance. Better we had burned it all in the fire of Horus's ambition than lived to see this. That is what Gilliman is quoted as saying when he was brought back to Terra, brought back to the throne room, and when he saw what was remained of the Emperor. What remained of the Imperium, what had happened to the Imperium in the 10 millennia that he was basically knocked out in stasis. Like everything he and his brothers and the Emperor had fought for during the Unification Wars, during the Great Crusade, and during the Horus Heresy, gone. Reduced back to just the opposite of the Imperium that the Emperor was hoping to build. And that is honestly a very, very telling quote. It is a quote that really sets Gilliman's character as he takes up the mantle of Lord Regent. So he's not just fighting for the survival of the Imperium. I think, and it's been really implied that Gilliman wants the Imperium to become what he and his brothers and his father, literal father, the Emperor, have been wanted in the first place. It's a very, very good and characterful quote. It's so good. It's so good. God, what novel was that from again? What novel was that from again? I do not remember. I'm trying to find it, chat, I promise. I can't find it, but I will definitely, if I ever find what novels that's from, I will absolutely let you know, chat. But that was, as memed on as the Ultramarines are, I do like them. I do like them for just their aesthetics and their contribution to everything else. Not to mention, not to mention, Gathering Storm 3, Rise of the Primarch. Thank you, Sunrise Land. Thank you. Not to mention, my god, I almost bloody forgot. I almost goddamn forgot. The fucking Tyrannic War. Because it was the Ultramarines who were the first ones to sort of get a full-on encounter with the Tyranids when they were first invading the galaxy. Because they just so happened to invade the galaxy in the same area where Ultramar was. And as a result, it was the Ultramarines who first encountered the Tyranids. And it was this war, Macragge was on the brink of defeat that they had to fight and for their own survival. The entirety of the first company of Ultramarines was wiped out during the Tyrannic War. Absolutely wild. Abso-fucking-lutely wild. It was a similar situation visited upon the Blood Angels more recently. I believe it was last edition, where Baal had also come under a Tyranid assault, and they barely survived. The bugs will get you. You know, be careful, man. The bugs will fucking get you. Now, honestly, chat, this is not even all of the chapters of Space Marines. We barely scratched the surface. We've really only talked about some notable chapters and mostly the first founding chapters. The number... Oh god, here we go. The full list of the Space Marine chapters, if I were to go through all of them, we would be here for quite a while. Yeah. We'd be here for a while. we'd be here for a while. Oh boy. Oh boy. I will say this. There was one chapter of Space Marines. I'll go through one more because they're... yep, found them. They're that notable, and mostly because they're far more interesting than their parent chapter. The Crimson Fists. The Crimson Fists. They are a successor chapter to the Imperial Fists, obviously. But they are most known for the fact that the entire chapter was almost annihilated. Like, almost completely destroyed down to the last man. Their chapter master, Pedro Cantor, led a counter-assault against the Orc Wa that struck their homeworld, Rin's world. And had he not done so, he would have lost the entire chapter. That's how big that Orc Wa was. And when I say they were almost extinct, by the end of their campaign on Rin's world, a chapter of 1,000 Space Marines was reduced to less than 500. At the end of that war, Chapter Master Pedro Cantor was left with two choices. He could rally what remained of his chapter, set off into the void in pursuit of the orcs who had almost destroyed them, and make one last final stand, die, and go out in a blaze of glory. Or he could consolidate what was left of the chapter and try to rebuild. He chose the second option. And thanks to that decision and the reinforcements from the Ultima founding of Primaris Marines, the Crimson Fists are basically back at full strength. The Crimson Fists specifically, are known for as like one of the most brutal and they are anti-orc specialists, is what the Crimson Fists are known for. They have all the brutality and accuracy of their founding chapter, the Imperial Fists, just directed against orcs specifically. just directed against orcs specifically. It's kind of cool. I really like the Crimson Fists, and again, like the Crimson Fists and the Black Templars, way more fucking interesting than just the run-of-the-mill normal Imperial Fists. Oh man. Is there anything else Space Marine wise I want to go over before we wrap up here? Excuse me. No, I think we've covered everything that I think we've covered everything that I want to cover in terms of just Space Marines for the day. Yeah, I think we've covered everything that I wanted to cover in terms of just Space Marines. So, I think that will wrap up, which is perfect timing because it's almost dinner time for me. I think that'll wrap up exactly where I want to wrap up for the day. Woo! We went through a lot and we still only somehow scratched the surface in terms of Space Marines. Chat, let me tell you. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out and hanging out with me today. Thank you, Sunrise Land, so much for the follow. I do appreciate it. Love all the new follows. If you like what I do, toss me a follow. If you really like what I do, feel free to sub. We've got some really cool emotes. And we've got some really cool stuff in the works as well. That I will reveal later on, and most importantly, check out my bio. I've got a link tree down there for all the other places you can find me. I'm on YouTube as well. I will be streaming on YouTube this Saturday. You can also find YouTube Shorts there, stream clips, edited videos, etc., etc. I'm on TikTok if you want to check there as well. I've dusted off my Ko-fi page, so if you want to donate. No pressure, but feel free. It is there. Check my link tree. We're down there. And other than that, thank you so much, everyone. I think the next time we do a Warhammer 40K lore deep dive, I think the next group we're gonna take a look at is going to be the other army I play, my other favorite army, the Orcs. Because what better way to follow up Space Marines than with the biggest wah? Because I love the Orcs, man. I fucking love the Orcs. Yo, holy shit. I absolutely love the Orcs. It's the best. It's just there's so much going on in Warhammer 40K. I'm gonna get not just this stream recording, but my previous Warhammer 40K lore deep dive up on the YouTube channel. If anyone wants to catch up, I'll cut out most of the delays and stuff like that. If you do want to take a look at that, feel free. I would appreciate it. And again, if... Oh gosh, hold on. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Wow. Wait. Sorry, I hit a wrong button. I hit a wrong button. Chat, give me a second. I hit a wrong button. Okay, you know what? Hold on. 1 second, chat. I got... Oh, where'd it go? Come on. Seriously? There we go. There we go. Wow, I can pay attention, I swear. I can pay attention, I swear. Yeah, there it is. There it is. I need to redo my my chat commands because they're not working at the moment. That's what I was struggling to work with. But there's my link tree. You can click on that and find me wherever else I am on. In terms of social media, I don't know how much longer Twitter is going to survive, so definitely follow me. Although somewhere that's also not Twitter. I made a joke the other day that Twitter might not make it to 2023, which would be fucking wild, but I don't know what the fuck Elon's doing at this rate. Does anyone know? I don't even think he knows. Let's be real here. I don't even think he fucking knows at this rate. Good God almighty. Okay, chat. All right. Okay. I'm gonna send y'all... Oh, I know exactly where to send y'all in terms of a raid. We're gonna keep this 40k train going. We're gonna keep this 40k train going because, unbeknownst to me, literally not until this afternoon, I did not know that my good friend Obsidia was doing her own 40k lore breakdown today. I just thought that was kind of funny. I think that the timing was absolutely hilarious that we're both doing 40k streams on the same day. So I'm gonna send y'all over to Obsidia. How's that sound? Sounds good? Alrighty, we'll keep the fun times rolling. Let's go. Let's fucking go. I got a fun raid message for y'all, chat. Space Marines! I'll catch you tomorrow. We're going to be diving back into Dead Cells tomorrow because I have the biggest itch to play that game again. So that's what we're going to do. All right. I'll see you at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. I'm going to go get some dinner now. Bye-bye.